both them and their partners. You could even find that you're performing like you haven't in years. So if ED has been affecting your intimacy, it's time to make the last time that happens the last time that happens. For just $99, you'll receive blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 720-440-7900 or go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We have 5 offices across the Front Range to serve you.
Stokely here from my friends at 5280 Waste Solutions of Denver. Unhappy with your home or business trash and recycling service? Need a temporary dumpster for a project? Call 5280 Waste Solutions at 303-529-2329. Colorado isn't just where they work, it's home. They guarantee swift, on-time pickup for residential and commercial customers. Make the switch and get reliable local service you can count on. Go to 5280waste.com. 5280 Waste Solutions, your hometown brand.
Cake Mortgage Corp. Equal Housing Lender. NMLS number 1734623. Licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Terms and conditions apply. What if you could use the equity in your home to get cash fast? With no appraisal, zero hassle, and less waiting with Cake? You can. The Cake Fast Cash program is like turning your home into your ATM. People are using it to pay off high-interest debt, do renovations, tackle student loans, or cut monthly bills by hundreds, even thousands of dollars. The best part? Your current mortgage rate won't change. With Cake, you also get peace of mind. We're AAA rated by the Better Business Bureau and backed by thousands of 5-star reviews. Cake Mortgage. Your fresh-baked Cake Fast Cash loan is ready to enjoy. So don't wait. Call 1-800-EAT-CAKE. That's 1-800-EAT-CAKE. Again, that's 1-800-EATCAKE. Or visit cakehome.com. To learn more now.
International Hot Rod Association and Durana Hybrid, where the roar of the engine meets the torque of the wrench. Building champions on the track and in the trades. Get your tickets at IHRA.com.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan. It's a Bud Light Football Friday. Bud Light, an official beer sponsor of the Denver Broncos. Here's Denver Sports Tonight.
Rolling on a Friday. Mike Rice, Dante Gomez, we have helped you get to another weekend, and we look forward to getting it started with you this evening. Denver Sports Tonight until 7 o'clock. Glad you're with us. RamosLaw.com text line is there, and you guys are going to want to jump on it, 303-713-1043. Another Friday, Dante. How was the week? Got to check in with you and see how you were rolling this week.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Okay.
It kind of flew by, but yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like it's been consumed with sports, with the baseball playoffs and football every night and college football. So just the Avs are getting into their season as well. So just a lot going on, but in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned both how about the Avs, the way they've started? Holy cow. And then the Blue Jays coming on. You mentioned the MLB playoffs. That is big. We're going to talk Broncos because we have to.
I would like to as well.
Well, of course we do. Yes, no, absolutely. I didn't mean for it to come across that way. And I mentioned the RamosLaw.com text line. We want to call on you guys in Broncos country because I was thinking about this and I was listening to Mike and Stoke and Stink this morning. Listened to a little Dover and Cease earlier in the midday as I was out and about a little bit, which doesn't usually happen, but I was. And then listening to Zach and Phil. It is such an interesting week and weekend for the Broncos. On the one hand, you have the poignant story, the memories, the incredible honor that Demaryius Thomas will receive posthumously going up into the Ring of Fame, and all of the memories of DT and his incredible career with the Broncos, the incredible person he was. And then you also have the reunion of the Super Bowl 50 team coming back for that, in a sense, and all of just the incredible memories that brings back. And then you have a really important game on top of that, and the Broncos sort of coming full circle from the Cincinnati Monday night game, quickly out to the East Coast to play Philly on a short week, winning that, going straight to London, not looking great last Sunday morning, our time, but still finding a way to beat the Jets, and now coming home with all of these other things going on. And so Dante and I are just going to ask you, Broncos country, for some memories. Maybe it's of DT. Maybe it's something that you remember he did. And it with the kind of man that DT was, it doesn't have to be on the field. Maybe it was a Super Bowl 50 memory. Maybe you were younger and it was one of your first recollections of football or the Broncos. Or maybe it was a Bronco great from the past. Who was or is your favorite Bronco of all time? We're just going to take a little time. It's a Friday night. It's a special weekend for the Broncos. Anytime they're at home, I always look forward to a Broncos home game and just having them back here in the Mile High City. This one's a little different, a lot different, Dante. And I thought we could just take a little time and give people a chance on the RamosLaw.com text line to share any sort of Bronco memory that comes up, because I think it's a good time to do that, given DT going in to the Ring of Fame, given the Super Bowl 50 team being honored and all those guys, or many of them, coming back, and then, of course, the game itself against the G-Men.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a weekend full of all kinds of almost like conflicting emotions, where you're very excited for the Broncos and where they're going, and this game has kind of turned to a different level in terms of the stuff you see on Twitter between the players going back and forth. It feels like there's a little bit of bad blood out there that is going to be taken care of on Sunday, and both teams are just a heightened experience for this game on Sunday. And then you add in the factor of the Broncos Super Bowl 50 team being here, and Demaryius Thomas and Ronnie Hillman as well. So just a lot going on, and just kind of, like I said, kind of conflicting emotions with the upcoming weekend, particularly with the Broncos.
Yeah, I remember. I'm going to start with DT because I remember when the Broncos selected him in 2010, and Josh McDaniels was the head coach. So as much as, I don't like to give Josh a whole lot of credit for too much, I remember when they drafted him, it was like, oh, big wide receiver from Georgia Tech. They didn't pass the ball a whole lot there at the time. And of course, Josh is the smartest guy in the room, and he has to make sure that his picks reflected that. But, man, DT worked out. I remember his first year. He only played in about 10 games. He was hurt. I can't remember. I was trying to think. It might have been a foot injury or something like that. And I was like, okay, is this guy going to really amount to anything? I mean, you like to see your first-round pick play, and you could say that about any year, including this year. And then, man, once he kind of hit his stride, when Payton arrived, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, he was unstoppable. He was absolutely unstoppable. And I have always been a fan of the superstar who really does let his play do the talking. And I think that, to me, Dante, spoke so loudly about Demaryius Thomas, is that, and Phil talked about it this week, how he would take guys aside in the locker room. I'm talking about DT. He never was out front. He was always content to see other guys shine. The word that, to me, that I think of, I was trying to think, what is there a word that sort of summarizes Demaryius Thomas? It's grace. He was a graceful man. He was a classy man. He was a professional through and through, and yet he carried himself with such grace. And to me, that's the mark of a true superstar. The guy who does it on the field in a way that nobody else did. And I heard Mike this morning, running through some of the stats from those Peyton Manning years. Phenomenal. And then just the grace and the class that he conducted himself with. Phenomenal presence. And yet he was so quiet. Presence isn't volume. Presence is the way one carries him or herself. And DT did that. did it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you heard it in the drive. We had a great montage with DT, and one of the quotes that really stuck out to me was like, and this is, him speaking on it, but he was never going to tell you he was the greatest. He was going to go out there and show you why he was the greatest. Yeah. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about, where he's a superstar, but he's graceful, he's humble, He doesn't have to go and do it with his words. He goes out there and does it with, his actions on the field. But even beyond that, you hear so many stories of who this guy was off the field too. And, Phil was a rookie. He was a nobody. He was not a nobody, but he in that locker room, comparatively,
exactly.
A nobody. Sorry, Phil, but
at that time in his career,
exactly. I think Phil would admit that too. And Demarius would talk to him, and it's one of those where it's like, this is the superstar wide receiver talking to not a walk-on, an undrafted running back at that point. So there's just countless stories of how great of a guy he was off the field as well.
Yeah, and we're starting to get them on the RamosLaw.com text line. We're going to roll through them. We're just, Dante and I, just taking this show to talk Broncos, but in the context of such a special weekend with DT going up into the Ring of Fame, the Super Bowl 50 team coming back, being honored, big game against the Giants, and we want to get your Broncos memories. Maybe it is a DT memory, and we're going to share a couple of those from you guys here in just a second. Maybe it was a Super Bowl 50 memory. Maybe it was your favorite Broncos player. Maybe it was being in the South Stands with your dad in the old Mile High or something. And every now and then, I think sports, Dante, affords us this opportunity because it is such an important piece of our culture for sure, but also individually, so many memories created around sports. And I think unlike many other activities or endeavors, sports is that, and I'm talking more on the individual basis right now or the family basis. It is something that is so powerful to kids, so powerful for parents to create those memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of my earliest memories as a kid are, a lot of them are actually sports related. It's my first memory ever, like going back in time, and this isn't Broncos, but it speaks to what you're talking about here, is the Vince Young versus USC Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
I remember being in Miami. We were at my cousin's house and we were watching the game. And going back in like the calendar, I don't really remember too much before that in my life. So I was probably about 6 when that happened. So it's sports that brings everyone together and can really make a stamp and an imprint on somebody's life. And then, even beyond that, a lot of, sports memories with my family, with my friends, with teams I played on when we were watching sports as well. So I just think it's so important in somebody's life. And I get it's just sports. And you hear that sentence a lot of it's just sports. But I think what can grow out of it is so much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, we recognize it's not life and death, but at the same time, it's important. And it's important to create those memories. RamosLaw.com text line 303-713-1043. Mikey from Denver checks in. I was in the stadium for the Steelers playoff game with my dad when DT caught that pass and took it the whole way. It was the second time I'd ever seen my dad cry. Only other time besides 9/11. I still get choked up thinking about that play and the impact he had on all of us in Broncos country. Well said, Mikey. That is an all-timer. And I wanna harken back to, I don't know if it was Zach, I don't know if it was Mike. I think it was Zach earlier in the week. That's not, when he said, that's not just a Broncos moment. That is it might have been Mike in the morning. That is an iconic NFL moment. And there's zero doubt about that. That's not being overdramatic. That's not playing things up, years later. That pass from Tebow to DT is an NFL all-timer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not from Colorado, and I moved here in 2021. And I remember that moment sticking out to me of watching that game of, Tebow to DT. And I think he beats Ike Taylor for the
I think that's
for
right.
the Steelers.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where that play will always stick with me. And I have no personal connection to that game in any way at that time in my life. So you are absolutely right with that. That is a national moment, a sports moment, an NFL moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because each week with with other NFL games. I do a shot on the Chiefs pregame show with my buddy Curtis back there who hosts it, and they preview, what the other teams in the NFL or the AFC West are doing. And this week when I was on with Curtis, he asked me about DT. I mean, NFL teams, NFL fans are aware that DT is being honored by the Broncos, that the Super Bowl 50 champions are coming back to Denver this week. Again, I'm not going to say it's the biggest story in the league, but it's a story, and it's not just a story in Broncos country. RamosLaw.com text line 303-713-1043. Robert from Aurora has 2 DT memories: being in the stands for the Pittsburgh playoff game with my brother, who too is no longer with us. Rest in peace, Robert, your brother, that is, and DT's rookie minicamp. This is back to Robert's text. Seeing how big he was and how he was still holding his own going up against Champ Bailey, you knew he was going to be special. Man, you know what? I'll be honest, because I remember, and maybe it was just, you never know how a draft pick is going to turn out. I was not convinced that DT was going to be a great player when he first got here. And again, part of it is because of his college situation, but also the fact that he was hurt that first year. It's like, man, okay. I mean, you hope so. I remember thinking that. I hope this guy works out. And, man, I would say he worked out. You think? From the 76-77, DT was amazing on the bubble screens, took so many to the house. How about having a guy like that on the edge right now for the Broncos? Wouldn't that be so? As much as Sean Payton loves those bubble screens? Goodness gracious. From the 36-86, that pass from Tebow to DT was iconic the moment the ball left Tebow's hands. Wow. Incredible. Do you have, and you're a little bit younger, for sure, do you have a favorite Bronco at this point, or a favorite Broncos memory?
I don't know if I have a favorite Broncos memory necessarily. There haven't been that many or too many memorable moments, I would say, since, coming to Denver 4 years ago at this point. So I don't have any, I'm trying to think. I don't have any distinct memories that are popping off the page. Favorite Bronco, though, I really like J.K. Dobbins since he got here. I think him and...
Oh, so you're going really recent.
Well, I've only been here for 4 years. So, I mean, if you ask me to go, historically, I mean, Jake the Snake, but that has more to do with the fact that he went to Arizona State and I went to Arizona State, so I don't know if that counts. But in terms of since I've been here, I really like Courtland Sutton too. I think he goes about his business the right way. I think he's a professional. I think he helps a lot of the younger guys on this team by example and also, with his words and his leadership. So I would say Sutton probably at this point, but again, that's just in my short time being here. Do you have one that stands out above the rest?
There are a couple that stand out over the years. I always loved Rod Smith. I really did. Obviously, his story was so compelling, coming as an undrafted free agent and then sort of making his mark first as a blocking wide receiver, if you will. I mean, he was so committed to that part of the game that it was impossible not to notice. And then teaming with Eddie Mack, and then obviously the iconic plays that Rod made. The first one I remember was the Hail Mary touchdown catch against the then Washington Redskins at Mile High. It was I'd have to go back and look. Someone will know on the RamosLaw.com text line. Was it the last play of the game? Was it in the final seconds? I can't quite remember. I want to say it was in the final seconds, but don't quote me. I need John Davis here. But I mean, and the other thing I loved about Rod is he was just such a good guy. I mean, he got the media thing. He wasn't afraid to, have a little fun with you in the locker room. And at the time I was covering the team day in and day out and just really enjoyed that. Some of my earliest memories of the Broncos, Dante, was when I was a kid growing up in the Bay Area. Of course, I grew up a Niners fan, still am, but once I moved to Colorado and sort of got entrenched here, the Broncos were, and still are now, they're sort of neck and neck. In fact, I'm a little bit more of a Broncos fan than a 49ers fan. But I remember I was such an NFC kid because The Niners were my team. CBS carried the games. Madden and Summer are all my favorite guys on the mic. And my dad and I would just live and breathe 49ers football. And yet the game opposite, because it was the Elway years on NBC, was always like a Broncos game, seemingly. And it was Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen. And you have to understand, being a Cal guy back then, and a Cal fan, I wasn't old enough to be in school yet, but I was a Cal fan, and Elway was a Stanford guy. So it was always like I always rooted against the Broncos because of John and his connection to Stanford. And I would always remember, it's like, oh, we got another Broncos game. I want to see somebody else in the I don't really like the AFC anyway, and it's Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen on another Broncos game. But those are some of my earliest memories, like going all the way back to my youth. Not rooting for the Broncos, rooting for the 49ers, but sort of putting up with whoever was on the AFC game. So on the RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043. Ravi, I met DT when I worked at Best Buy in 2010 when he came to do signings. I hung out with him all day. He was so amazing and graceful and kind, very humble too. I was at the game. He caught the OT pass from Tebow. DT helped me get through bad health. I was in the ICU for 3 weeks on a ventilator and watched every Ravi says he watched every game for the last 30 years. Rest in peace, DT and Ronnie, meaning Ronnie Hillman. Yeah. And I know Zach and Phil were talking about that. From the 4262, the inception of my Broncos fandom came when my parents had a huge Super Bowl party for Super Bowl 32 when they beat the Packers. I was 6 years old. My love for Broncos and football had begun. The VHS tape of the cinematic review of that 97 team got me through the long off season each year, waiting for the next year to start. Remember, you don't remember the old VHS?
Oh, I remember VHS. Oh, yeah. We had a VCR. Yeah, we
All
still
right.
have VHSs at my mom's house.
Yeah. Isn't that something, though? You get those old highlight tapes, or now you look them up on YouTube or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. And real quick, I want to amend my favorite Broncos list.
Okay.
Sutton in terms of current Broncos.
Okay.
But I think it's hard to say it's not Phil, Stoke, Schleyer.
Wow.
Those are people I actually have a personal connection with at this point in my life.
Yeah.
So I would like to amend that real quick.
Yeah, it was funny because just the other day, our youngest son is 13. And he's a football guy. He loves the Broncos. I don't know what happened to our older son. I won't talk about him. I think he's being contrarian. I don't know. I don't know where his love for the Saints came from, but we joke with him all the time.
That sounds like a hard enough life, so I don't think we need to make it any harder for him.
You go root for your team. But my buddy Will, my younger one Will, says, "Hey, Dad, who's Mark Schlereth?" I said, "It's Stink." He goes, "Oh, okay." He says, "He played for the Broncos?" I said, "Yeah, great offensive lineman." He goes, "What was his number?" I said, "It was 69. He goes, "Should I get a Schlereth jersey?" I said, "If you do, I bet Mark would sign it for you." But again, it's these kind of memories that Dante and I just taking some time to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit with you all in Broncos country on Denver Sports tonight. We're going to do it for the show because it's such an important weekend, I think. It's important for the current team, but even beyond that, it's important because the Super Bowl 50 team is being honored. DT, the late Demaryius Thomas, going up into the Ring of Fame, and so we are just having some fun going into the memory bank with all of you. On the RamosLaw.com text line from the 5785, I remember meeting DT at a bar. As a lifelong Chiefs fan, we lightheartedly talk trash for about 10 minutes. He was such a nice guy. When I asked him for an autograph, I handed him a beverage napkin and a Sharpie. He asked me what I wanted him to write, just said a big L for when you lose to the Chiefs. He poured beer on the napkin and threw it in my face. I guess he got the last laugh as the entire bar was laughing and cheering for him. I mean, that's just that I would not have predicted from Demaryius Thomas. From the 01-05, I don't know about a specific play. My favorite DT moment was 2015 when he in the run game carried the O when Payton was historically awful. It's so interesting when, and I heard Zach and Phil talking about that Super Bowl 50 team, and And they were talking about Ronnie Hillman, and Zach was making the point that here, unfortunately, and just it's sad that we've lost DT. We've lost Ronnie Hillman off of that team. And the magic of that Super Bowl 50 team, yeah, it was no fly zone. It was a historically great defense. But, Dante, it was a team where, like Phil said, I don't know if they win the Super Bowl without Ronnie Hillman. You know what? I don't know if they win it without Von Miller. I don't know if they win it without Malik Jackson. I don't know if they win it without Brock Osweiler and what he did while Payton was hurt. And that's the beauty when you have that group that finds a way to get the job done, and seemingly it's somebody else helping or contributing in a major way. And I think that's the kind of culture that Sean Payton's trying to shoot for. It takes talent. There's zero doubt about that. We know that. But you got to have that mojo, that chemistry, that culture, all of those things. That Super Bowl 50 team was incredible. They won so many close games, and don't tell me culture and chemistry didn't play a part.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Brandon Marshall on today's show spoke about that, about how, in 2013 and 14, we were super talented, but just the chemistry was different that 2015 season when they were able to go out there and, finish the job. So I think that's super important, and I think Sean Payton recognizes the importance of that, and that's kind of maybe a lost art in sports today of how important the team camaraderie is and how important the locker room is, and the vibes between the players and the coaches and everybody in the locker room, everybody in the organization, really. So I think Sean Payton recognizes the importance of that, and it's kind of that old school football way of he knows we have to have this in order to be successful out on the field.
Broncos memories, DT, Super Bowl 50. Back in the day, your favorite Bronco. Just walking down memory lane with you guys in Broncos country tonight on Denver Sports Tonight.
After a busy offseason, are the Denver Nuggets ready to make another run to the NBA Finals?
Right now, with this roster and an engaged Jamal Murray, I don't think there's a group of 5 basketball players in the world that can beat the Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series. I don't think it exists, if these things go right.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Hey guys, boy Steve here today about my long-term buddy Troy Hansford. And if you're thinking about selling your house for any reason, now might be the time to sell, still get top dollar. Believe it or not, my guy Troy is still offering his $5,000 guarantee. What is it, you ask? Well, if he can't sell your house at your price on your timeline that you agree upon beforehand, bam, going to cut you a check for $5,000. Who else makes the offer? Nobody I've ever heard of. And he makes that offer because he continues to spend a ton of money marketing his listings, has about 100 families approved and ready to buy right now. And if for any reason you need to sell right away, Troy can buy your house, all cash, and he can close in as little as 7 days. You have a house to sell, Troy probably has that perfect buyer for you right now, waiting for you to pick up the phone and to call him. Call Troy, get your home sold for the most money. That's 720-900-4433, 720-900-4433. Troy Hansford of RE/MAX Professionals, a Colorado licensed broker. Some restrictions do apply. Want to sell your house? Then call my buddy Troy, 720-900-4433.
It's the Medicare Advantage annual enrollment period, and Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Don't miss Colorado football's 2 remaining home games of the 2025 season. Celebrate homecoming with the Buffaloes as CU faces the Arizona Wildcats on Saturday, November 1st. Then lock in your seats for Senior Day against the reigning Big 12 champs, Arizona State, on November 22nd. Great seats are still available at beautiful Folsom Field. Visit cubus.com/tickets or call 303-492-8282 and be there as Ralphie 7 leads the charge for your Colorado Buffaloes.
It matters who your lawyer is. At Berg Simpson, we truly care about the quality of work we do, that fair compensation is given, and that our clients are getting the best possible representation. We're proud of that, and it shows.
If you've been injured, call Berg Simpson for free now at 303-790-2525. 303-790-2525. BergSimpson.com. Good lawyers changing lives. It's not just a slogan, it's who we are.
Wow, Leslie, your fireplace really sucks.
I beg your pardon?
Well, what I mean is your fireplace is literally sucking all the air out of your house and right up the chimney every time you burn it.
Well, what can I do about it?
Well, you could get a high-efficiency gas insert from Cozy Heat. It keeps all the air you already pay the utility company to heat, and it returns up to 80% of the fire's heat back into your house.
I'd use my fireplace every chance I get if I could do that. Maybe my furnace wouldn't need to run so much.
Well, that's the whole point. Hi, this is Keith Lair with Lair Fireplace and Patio, along with my niece Leslie, to tell you how a gas insert from Cozy Heat will give you the incentive to use your fireplace again. Cozy Heat gas fireplaces and inserts are made to crank out the heat with beauty and style.
Lair's is Denver's oldest, most trusted name in fireplaces. Family owned and operated since 1954.
We'll even give you a free in-home quote, including expert installation by our own certified in-house installers.
Find us on the web at lairfireplacepatio.com.
For top quality Cozy Heat fireplaces and inserts, it's Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's fireplace experts.
Looking to sell your used Rolex watch? We buy and sell pre-owned Rolex watches, all styles from old to new. Hi, I'm Scott Matthew with Matthews Fine Watches and Jewelry. Bring in your Rolex watch and we will buy it on the spot. Matthews, located in Highlands Ranch, serving Colorado since 1951.
The right financial strategies can make a huge difference, especially if you're nearing retirement. Adam Mueller talks retirement strategies with Mile High Money. Saturday mornings at 8 on Denver Sports 104.3, The Fan.
Hey, sports fans, did you know that O'Mara owns GMC on 104th? And now it's time to check them out.
That's right, and O'Mara GMC announces the lowest lease payments of the year. GMC Hummer, just $549. Sierra 1500, just $479.
Lisa, GMC Hummer for only $549 a month, or a Sierra 1500 for just $479?
That's O'Mara GMC on 104th. OmaraGMC.com.
Stock SZ167052 and SU104091. See the website for complete details.
It's a Bud Light Football Friday. Bud Light, an official beer sponsor of the Denver Broncos. Here's Denver Sports Tonight.
Mike and Dante with you on this Friday, heading into the weekend. It's a Broncos Friday on Denver Sports Tonight. Just walking down memory lane on this Friday night. RamosLaw.com text line is open for you guys as always. 303-713-1043. Taking DT memories, taking Super Bowl 50 memories, General Broncos memories. It's such a special weekend. It's such an interesting weekend in terms of the excitement of all of the great memories that the Super Bowl 50 team provided, and those guys will all be honored this weekend on Sunday at Empower Field. And then, of course, the late Demaryius Thomas going into the Broncos Ring of Fame. And, oh, by the way, the Broncos of 2025 have another big game. They're all big, but an interesting one against the Giants, who come in with a couple of young players. On the RamosLaw.com text line, I like this one, Dante, from Anders. I met DT late night after a rough work shift at a gas station during the holidays. He purchased everything I'd picked out and gave me some cash. It was an amazing moment of generosity and grace. He could tell I was working hard to get by. The light in his eyes was undeniable. He had a way of making people feel really special. Just working camps, whether, I think of Phil's story with teammates, that kind of thing. Oh, man. And I know he wouldn't want us to be sad, but there's still a part of me that just goes, wow, I want DT back around. From the 70-68, one of my favorite all-time moments was actually being at that game. And I think it was one during the Super Bowl 50 run when Brock Osweiler beat the Chiefs. That was one of the best games I've ever been to. You know, we lose sight of the fact that, yeah, when you look at Payton and Brock's combined numbers in 2015, they weren't great, but they needed Brock Osweiler to be at least effective enough to kind of hold the fort down while the no-fly zone and that defense did its thing. That was such a magical season. Man, it was such a great year for the Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, Brock Osweiler and Brandon Marshall spoke to this too when he joined the drive earlier, just how important it was that he stepped in and got some critical wins and was able to get that game against the Patriots at home. It was at Empower Field. I don't think it was Empower Field at the time, named that, but how important it was to get that game in Denver. You know, Tom Brady's won a lot of those playoff games, and a lot of those are at home. So if you can get him a little bit off his element and have him come out here to Denver, I think, you know, that's I'm not going to say that's the reason they won the game, but I think it's a part of why they won that game.
Yeah, and I remember that game. They put so much pressure on Brady. If they weren't hitting him, they were hurrying him and causing him to be out of rhythm, off schedule, off balance, those kind of things. No quarterback likes it. The Broncos got such great push up the middle, such great push without having to send the house on a blitz. And I think that is certainly a hallmark that we're seeing early on, and it's still relatively early in this 2025 season, the ability to get to the quarterback with four guys. Back to the RamosLaw.com text line from the 8277. A DT moment. Was on a business trip to Texas right after he got traded. He was on my flight. I saw him board the plane ahead of me. I was wearing a Broncos cap. He was sitting in first class. So as I boarded, I saw him sitting in his seat, made eye contact. I pointed to my cap, tapped my chest with a smile, and gave a nod. He saw, acknowledged, and smiled with the DT smile, tapped his chest, gave a thumbs up. No words were spoken, but the mutual respect was amazing. What a great story. Is that not DT? I mean, it's like, oh, man. I remember when he was traded, and I didn't know whether to feel glad for him or just sad, because you hate to see an icon like that go. And he was an icon. He was a Denver Broncos icon. Absolutely was. Favorite memory from the 67-77 was with family, having an outdoor cookout in the winter, watching as the game. I want to get the context here. Sorry, guys. I think he's talking about the Pittsburgh game. He didn't mention. Yes, he is. Okay. Favorite memory: we were having an outdoor cookout in the winter, watching the Pittsburgh game. When it went into overtime, I called it. I said, "Watch this. Tebow's going to throw it long to DT." That's exactly what happened. If you watch the video footage before that, I think Tebow called the shot as well. He told Demarius he was going to catch the game-winning touchdown. I know your perspective is more recent, Dante, because you just haven't been in town as long. But I don't think at that moment, I don't think I realized how big that play was. I don't. And it was one of the great plays in Broncos history. It truly was. And part of it is because with Tim, I mean, we know the offense was a struggle. And the defense was carrying that team so often, 15-12, 13-10, 16-15 kind of games. And then they come up with that win. Now, it didn't work out so well in New England the next week, but that doesn't take away from that win. Special win, special play. Do you have any recollection of that?
That play?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you talked a little bit about it earlier.
Yeah, no, that play definitely stands out to me, and it's one of those where I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I was like, wow, what a great story. Particularly, at that moment, the story was more the Tebow story of how he's, able to win these games and go on a run after, was Kyle Orton got benched earlier in the season, I want to say?
I think that's right.
So I just remember that whole roller coaster of Tebow, getting inserted in the starting lineup, and everyone's like, no, he can't do it. He's not a NFL quarterback. He's a college quarterback. That's what, his throwing motion's too long. They have the highlights of him throwing the ducks at practice, not literal ducks, but like a very poorly thrown football at practice.
Working on incompletions.
Exactly. So, at that time it was more about the Tebow story, and then, given the context now, it's, equally part of the Demaryius Thomas story as well. So that play definitely stands out. And again, I had no dog in the fight. I had no, personal connection to Denver at this moment, but it's one of those plays that will always stick with me. And just, it came through in the broadcast of how loud the stadium was too in that moment.
303-713-1043 on the RamosLaw.com text line. We're going to go in the Wayback Broncos machine here, Dante. And this is from the 3939. When I was a kid, Dad took me to see a game. Early 60s, not sure exactly of the year. Our first shutout against the Chargers. Floyd Little scored a TD. We won 13-0. The scoreboard person pulled the Chargers name out of the old Browns scoreboard and inserted another name, which we'll just sort of leave out. Oh, man, you talk about a lifelong Broncos fan. You're going back to the early 60s. That's about when they were coming into existence. From the 73-89, here's another one. I loved watching Sammy Winder run the ball, the Mississippi mud dance he would do when he scored. Sammy Winder, you think about some of the running backs, Bobby Humphrey, Glenn Milburn, Gaston Green. Just Broncos running, Mike Anderson of a little more recent vintage. Man, they had some running backs. Remember under Shanahan, it wasn't a joke. It was just the running thing that Mike did was, we're just going to find a running back anywhere we can, and he'll rush for 1,000 yards. And that was back in the day when 1,000 yards actually meant more than it did today, seemingly. And, man, they would just churn out running backs. And you think about the years where after John retired, and then there was that gap. And what are the Broncos? And then they start going through coaches. And then they figure it out. Obviously, they get Payton. And that was sort of the renaissance. And I think since, Payton retired now, it's been a long stretch where what do we do? What do the Broncos do? Dante, are you of the mind that Sean Payton can build a Broncos team that can win a Super Bowl, that can be consistently contending, that can bring the Broncos back to the elite of the NFL? They've started the ascension. They've started their way up the mountain. They're not, in my mind, yet in the elite of the NFL, but they're certainly not where they were a couple years ago. Where do you stand on Sean being able to do that and the organization as a whole getting back?
Yeah, absolutely. To say they're going to win a Super Bowl, I think might be a little far for me at this moment, but
I don't mean this year. Just
no.
generally.
I mean in general. Still, I think it's just so hard to win a championship in any sport. It's just very difficult. There's all-time great teams that just couldn't get it done sometimes, and that's okay. It's part of sports, and only one team gets to win every year. So I think that's a little far for me to say right now. But I certainly see a team that is going to be in the playoffs every year, is going to be, hosting AFC title games, is going to be in AFC title games, plural S, with an S at the end, title games. So I think that they're always, not always, but I think they're going to be in the mix for the next, let's call it 6, 7, 8 years. So I think that that's what they're getting at, but to say that they're going to win one, I don't want to be a downer, but that feels kind of like what I'm saying right now.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, it's hard to win, Mike.
Well, of course it is. But I guess it speaks to, first off, do you think the ownership group has the stuff to be able to?
Yes, absolutely. They definitely have the capability. They have everything in place to win one. But like I said, it's just very difficult to win.
It is.
Think about how great Jokic has been for the last decade, and he has one ring. It's very difficult to win. So I hate that I'm even saying that out loud, but
well, I think
they're going to be competitive.
I hope the first thing I want is for them to be consistently competitive in the playoffs. In other words, the expectation is they're going to make the playoffs. They're not just going to always sneak in. They are going to dethrone the Chiefs as the division winner. And again, I'm not speaking necessarily this year, although I think it's possible. And you become a team that consistently makes deep runs in the playoffs. There's no way to predict Super Bowls because you're right. It is so darn hard. And I mean, there are several really, really good teams right now in the NFL. And to your point, one of them is going to ultimately be happy with how the year ends. And I'm just going to be the optimistic sort that I am. People know that that's my bent. Sometimes when I have to call it like I see it, I feel a little more negative. I do think they're going to win one under this ownership group. I do think it's going to come with Sean Payton as the head coach, all things being equal. And I'm hopeful that the ascension continues. They have some things to get to. They have some things they need to improve upon. We'll touch on that a little bit and look to this matchup against the Giants. Mike and Dante with you on Denver Sports tonight.
Will Sean Payton get the offense back on track? Can Vance Joseph's defense continue its historic start to the season? We'll break it all down in the Fan Football pregame show. Live from Mile High Station starting at noon, presented by Modelo. Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Get 5 quarts of Valvoline full synthetic motor oil, a Wix filter, and a $15 gift card after rebate at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Another summer is ended, and you may have noticed that your energy is lower, your workouts aren't as productive, perhaps you aren't sleeping as well and feel foggy all the time, maybe even your sex drive is off. This is Jeff for the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, and if you're experiencing some or all of these symptoms, it's likely you have low testosterone. And if that's what's going on with you, don't wait. You need to call us at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic and get treated for your low T, because living with low testosterone is no way to live. With our low T treatments, if you're like most guys, your life will change considerably. Improved sleep, better energy, greater gains in the gym, better mental clarity, and your sex drive will likely improve as well. Plus, most men see these results in just a few weeks. So call us. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes PSA and T-test and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 720-440-7900 or go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We have 5 offices across the Front Range to serve you.
I just saw 2 houses for sale. Same neighborhood, almost identical, but one had an Orchard sign and it sold for way more. So I asked my friends at Orchard, why? The first house used a traditional agent. After weeks of price drops and frustration, they settled for less than they'd hoped for. The second homeowner chose Orchard and got more. Their local Orchard agent didn't just list a home, they marketed it. They knew exactly which upgrades would attract serious buyers and brought in a pro to handle everything. And even more, with Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program, the homeowner moved into their new home before their old one even hit the market. They skipped all the hassles and showings. Never settle for less. Get more with Orchard, the smarter, faster, hassle-free way to buy your new home, even before your old home sells. Start with Orchard's free home valuation at Orchard.com. That's Orchard.com. Orchard.com.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but not true, I say. Hey everybody, Dan Jacobs with Jacobs Law and 303 Law 4040, and I'm here to tell you about the best, absolute best free meal in all of Denver. Times are tight right now. You go to the grocery store, things are insane. So we all could use a little bit of help. No questions asked. Anybody that needs it can come by every first and third Thursday. Here's how it works. You pull up, you pop your trunk, they put free groceries for the week in your trunk, and they say, how many hot meals do you need? We pass those to you right through your window, and this is good stuff. This is not soup kitchen stuff. I smoke these meats personally. Delicious pulled pork. I got my special secret Chipotle chicken recipe. It is fantastic. Please help us spread the word. Anybody that needs it, Smoky Hill and Arapahoe Road every first and third Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me personally. It's Dan Jacobs at 303 Law 4040.
Stay up to date on the Broncos with our 9 News Broncos insider Mike Kliss, presented by Fitness Gallery. Hear the latest from every practice and every game every single week during football season. Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan. It's a Bud Light Football Friday. Bud Light, an official beer sponsor of the Denver Broncos. Here's Denver Sports Tonight.
Mike and Dante on Denver Sports Tonight on this Friday, having some fun with you, Broncos country, walking down memory lane, reminiscing about the late Demaryius Thomas going up into the Ring of Fame on Sunday before and during the game against the Giants, the Super Bowl 50 team being honored. A lot of those guys are back. It's alumni weekend as well. And, of course, the Giants are in town to take on the Broncos. On the RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043, Mike sent us a picture, Dante, and he says, I've never seen a more Broncos sunset fitting for the DT talk, still shining down on us. And it's a gorgeous sunset, blue and orange, obviously. And I was just getting here as the sun was setting, so I missed that. But Mike, thank you, because it is fitting. That's outstanding. Hey, speaking of Bronco memories from the 6012, remember the 3 linebackers during the Mike Anderson days? Ian No Gloves Gold, Al Smoke Dog Wilson, and DJ Dark Visor Williams. Yeah, those guys were something. They still need the next Al Wilson in the middle. So my question, as we look at, for the last few minutes, Dante, this game on Sunday, with all that we mentioned that's going on, does that motivate the Broncos? Does it serve as any kind of distraction? Is that all just media talk? How do you see that?
I think it's gone beyond media talk at this point. I mean, it's almost like you see a new quote every couple hours when it's either the Giants players are coming out with something or the Broncos players, or you see media people talking about it across the country as well. So I'm excited for the game. I think it's going to add a little extra motivation to this Broncos team where it could have been a little bit of a lull spot coming back from London. Your time zones are all messed up, and I think the Giants aren't exactly. I think they're fun as of late, but you see that 2-4 record, it's like, oh, we're good. We're gonna, walk out of this with a win here. So I think it adds a little extra motivation for both teams. I think both teams just seem to be very focused, and maybe we'll see some bigger hits than you see in a normal NFL Sunday.
I'm with you. I think it does serve to motivate them. I think it serves to keep them focused and to give them, if they needed, and sometimes you do, if they needed sort of that extra spark, that extra juice, that extra little push, I think all of it serves to do that. Sam Ehlinger was released. There's a lot of speculation that Dre Greenlaw is going to play. I haven't seen anything here late this afternoon, so correct me if I missed something, Dante, but do you expect Dre Greenlaw to be on the field?
No, you're right in terms of what we've been updated with, but I expect him to play. I think he'll be on a snap count, pitch count, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think he'll play in, let's call it under. I think it'll be less than 50% of the snaps, but I expect him to see him out there for maybe 30 to 40% of the snaps.
Okay,
defensive snaps, obviously.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you. I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to see Dre. And think of this. I mean, the Broncos defense has been doing what it's been doing without him. The top free agent signing of the offseason. And now, whatever your superstition is, if you have one, salt over the shoulder, lucky rabbit's foot, four-leaf clover, whatever you want to do it, because the Broncos need Dre Greenlaw and they need him to be healthy. And if he is, Dante, how would you characterize the type of impact this guy could make on a defense that's already elite?
Well, I think he makes them very a scary defense. They're already an incredible defense, but it's more just strong fundamentals, and the pass rush is the pass rush. That's probably the best in the NFL. So they're already a very good defense, but I think he adds just a level of intimidation to the other teams. And I think he'll be able to help in the run game. Hopefully he'll be able to help in, the coverage that we've seen Singleton has been lacking a little bit in too. So hopefully he's not known for that, but hopefully he can take that to another level and everyone can just kind of do their role. But when you get this group of 11 guys out there doing their role, they're all very good at that job. So I think it could be, holding teams. I think we could see the Broncos defense hold teams to under 14 a couple times this year with Dre Greenlaw in the lineup.
I think it's going to happen this week. I've got him
under 14.
Yeah, 27-13. I just think it's going to be a Broncos day. Who do you like?
I got Broncos 24-20. So a little bit closer, but I think the Broncos are going to come out the win.
By the way, you know this, others know this. When I give my score, it's not betting advice.
Yes.
Dante, thank you. Fun Friday night. Really kind of fun just to reminisce, and it should be a great Sunday. Look forward to talking with you, Broncos country, afterwards on the Fan Football postgame show after the Broncos beat the Giants. Dante, thanks. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Thank you. That's Dante Gomez. I'm Mike Rice. Thanks for joining us. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan.
Will Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper wreak havoc on Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboot? Will Bo Nix shake off the tough outing in London? We'll react to it all in the Fan Football postgame show, live on game day starting at the 2-minute warning. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan.
You could save thousands of dollars on the products your business uses the most with the Home Depot's new Pro Extra Preferred Pricing. Registering is free and easy. Just have your tax ID or business or contractor's license ready. But don't wait. The current preferred pricing benefit will end on November 15th. Visit your local Pro Desk to register now and unlock the deepest savings on the products you choose.
Your air duct cleaning experts, Ductworks.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here. Fall has arrived, which makes now the perfect time to call your air duct cleaning experts, Ductworks, at 303-425-0985. Ductworks' complete ventilation cleaning packages scrapes and vacuums every inch of your system, removing dirt, dust, and debris other companies leave behind. Here's why that matters. Your heating system kicks on in the fall. Dirty ducts can reduce efficiency, raise your energy bills, push dust into your home's